Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Wade, Gamma's Chief Marketing and Product Officer. Welcome to our Future Visions podcast series, where myself and Colin Lees, Gamma's CTO, will talk about some of the technology trends that are going to impact on the world of communications now and for the foreseeable future, and try and give a perspective on what's happening, where it's going to go, and what it means for you, our channel partners, and our customers and prospects going forward. So welcome, Colin. A year into Gamma journey now. How's everything been so far?
Well, I have to say it's a year into my Gamma journey, but 25 years plus in this industry, Chris. And I've got to say it's been brilliant in Gamma, actually. It's a really exciting business, a business with huge ambitions. And the reason I joined Gamma, actually, was to help Gamma build its future portfolio. And I'm delighted with the progress we've made in the last year. Super excited about the products you and I are going to launch over the next 12 months. Yeah. And it's really going to be very exciting, not least in UCaaS. We've got a lot happening there.
Yeah. And that's the topic of the first one of this series that we're going to put together is what does the future of UCaaS mean for businesses in general? And equally, how does AI cross through that? And what will that mean? So we've obviously talked a lot as Gamma about WebEx, we talked about IPEX, we talked about the portfolio we have. What do you see, from your background, like you say, 25 years in industry, as happening in the world of what was called UCaaS? Does that label still resonate, and where do you think it goes?
I think for me, one of the dangers that we have, and it's odd for me to say this as a technologist, which is that you can't start with the technology platform and the solution. Yeah. And I think the important thing for us all to understand is what is the customer use case? What are the customer's personas that we need to solve for? Because if we can solve a real world problem or make a difference and an improvement to a customer's life, well, brilliant. That's going to build a product that we will then be able to sell lots of. Yeah. So when I think about our customer base, we're serving customers from sole traders who are running their business on their own. They're absolutely locked in. They're probably 24/7 thinking about their business, and they just want to be able to make and receive contact from their customers really easily, whether that's a phone call, an email, or anything. They just want to be able to get it. Yeah. And then right at the other end, we've got huge multinational companies who have a different set of needs, large desk-based teams, perhaps field-based teams. So for me, what I like to think about is what are the customer use cases that we need to solve for? Yeah. And when I reflect on that and think about Gamma's portfolio, I love the direction that we're moving. So I think in the bottom end of the scale there, we've got Phone Line Plus, and I think that'll be super important as the fiber emerges in our industry. We should talk about that sometime. Yep. Because it'll allow people to continue to use the number that their business has been associated with for a very long time, using a modern platform and set of apps. I then love the evolution that you've driven on Horizon, where our brilliant partnership with Cisco is going to let us evolve that estate. I think that's superb. And then we've got IPEX, which again is solving a rich set of customer use cases. So for me, Chris, it's about let's understand the customer use cases. Then we can look at what platforms that we've got. Yeah. And I like the direction that we're headed in UCaaS.
And I think this, it's just a personal view, but maybe worth testing. It's just about opinions rather than fact. But how we behave as consumers, and particularly people who understand technology and are engaged in it and get excited by it like you and I both do, we are driving business change, aren't we? Yeah. Because no longer is it enough to just pick up the telephone. So what do you have a view of how that ends up influencing those solutions that we're delivering, where the telephone still exists, voice calls are still important, but so are WhatsApp, SMS, email, blah, 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 a long and growing list of media.
Yeah. I think it's about, integration, isn't it? And when I look at our Cisco roadmap, how they integrate is really powerful. Okay. Equally in Phone Line Plus, in the new solutions we'll launch this year, we'll embed WhatsApp. Yeah. And I was talking to my local publican. It was research. It was
obviously
research.
Very important.
And what I observed about my local pub was when they take a booking, they have an online booking system which they turn off. And the bookings are made by people ringing up, and then the Jim writes it in his book on the counter. Now, if he's busy pulling pints, he's not able to take the booking, and he misses loads of bookings. Now, the solution that we're putting in place will allow him, if he misses that, to WhatsApp the person back.
Yeah.
And how cool would that be? If you ring the pub, you can't get a table, and they WhatsApp you to say, hey, did you want a table?
Calls, right? Yeah.
And I think understanding those use cases will really help us. Yeah. What's your view of it?
I think it's more and more we're going to have to put more and more into these tools. And the distinction between, you referenced earlier, people who've got very large desk-based teams versus a very small business, your publican around the corner, their need is actually going to converge because they're going to need to speak to you and I in the same way that because we drive that expectation.
Yeah.
So just because they're a small business doesn't mean they don't need some considerable complexity in the estate that they've got to manage because they want WhatsApp. A bathroom company might want email, and they might want to be able to see that flow together where they can see quotes and orders and conversations happening. So I think the distinction becomes less about the size of the organization, more about the mechanism, frequency, and complexity of the conversations they're having with their customers.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something which I think is quite interesting. So AI, it's a topic that we talk about a lot. The industry talks about even more, a lot of confusion about it. The use case you described, being able to WhatsApp someone back, I've seen examples where people go, AI is the answer to that question because the AI agent or whatever it is can sit listening to that call or listen to voicemail. We were talking this morning about the capability of transcription and meeting they're taking. Does AI have a role in that experience delivery?
Yeah, I mean, the AI is a very broad topic. What I would say about AI, first of all, is that there's a lot of people labeling functions and features as AI that traditionally would just have been considered automation.
Yes.
So what is the role of AI then? So I think that we're starting to see some genuinely excellent AI use cases, particularly at the larger end of the market. I think the Cisco tooling that cleans up the images and the voice is very and adapts to the environment. That's super clever.
Yeah.
And then at the other end, as you say, things like transcription that was previously unachievable in smaller products is now there. So when I think about AI, I think there's a few different scenarios. The first scenario is internally when we turn on tools like Copilot, when we leverage the AI built into ServiceNow and Salesforce, I think that can help businesses to improve their efficiency.
Yeah.
Then I think there's another story about how you build AI into your products.
Yeah.
And that's something you and I are working on very closely. Then I think there's a third thing, which is really exciting, which is the genuinely new and emergent AI technologies that are out there. Now, many of those today are relatively immature, but I suspect that over the next 12 months, we'll see some of those startup AI businesses offering solutions that genuinely solve customer problems. Yeah. And I think that's the crossover we've not got to yet. Yeah. Because I don't know about you, right? But if I wind up talking to a chatbot, a little bit of my soul dies because I just know it's not going to help me. Yeah. Similarly, when you ring up and hear an AI voice and, it says, please say your postcode. And you think, they're not going to get my accent. This isn't going to go well. But however, I think that will change. Yeah. And what I love that we're doing in Gamma is we're working with a number of startups very closely so that we can spot where do we cross the threshold to something that genuinely helps businesses and improves customers' experience.
Yeah, I something you said earlier resonates with me. I have a general belief that AI in the main today is the wrong way around. It's IA, intelligent automation.
Yes, I think that's really clever.
And actually it is putting a label over something, and it happens with incredible smarts, like you say, but it's not really changing the game. Whereas, like you say, we'll see those game-changing pieces of capability coming as people start to understand, going back to what you said right at the start, what problem we're trying to solve.
Yeah.
And then applying technology to that problem rather than technology for technology's sake.
Yeah. Because imagine another world for my publican where if he can't answer the phone, his AI assistant can.
Yes.
Now, today we're not quite there, but what I want us to do in Gamma is make sure that for our customers and our channel partners and the people we work with right across the UK, that we're right on, we're really watching closely for when that does become something that we should be putting out there and get out there first.
Yeah. And I think that's an interesting way to draw this to a close, isn't it? Is for all the businesses out there listening, AI is coming and it will make a difference. It's almost make sure you pick the right partners to work with make sure you pick the right use cases you're trying to solve, because it will not fix all the problems that any business has. It's the old truism, isn't it? Which is a tool never fixes a broken process.
Exactly right.
So thanks for that, Colin. A really insightful conversation. Interesting talking about how communications and AI interact together. I hope you enjoyed that, the first of our series of the Future Visions podcast series that Colin and I will do together. Be sure to look out for the next one, where I will talk to Colin about something which is very dear to his heart, which is the move to fibre connectivity in the UK.